Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 79 of our WWE 2021 Save and TEW 2020. This is SmackDown for week 4 in December. And yes, only 2 episodes to go here until the new year. We hit 2022 finally, and we'll have the SmackDown. Well, actually, it'll be 3 episodes because we'll have our Armageddon preview. Then we will have Armageddon for Sunday, week 4. And so that's kind of your upcoming lineup here for the WWE series, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. But let's jump into SmackDown, which starts with the pre-show, and it is Kairi Sane getting the win over Eva Marie 709 with the Spear 54 match here. And I had remembered that she had an injury. I think it was the bruised eye socket is what she's been dealing with, but did say she could wrestle through it. So we put her in here to see how it would go, and she was slowed a little bit, so that knocked the match. Not that it would have been great, although surprisingly, I would have never guessed this one. She and Eva Marie have pretty good chemistry, so that's interesting. But clearly, we get knocked here a little bit for just having the injury and trying to work through it. So and Eva Marie is just getting penalized everywhere for all of her skills. So not a surprise. But we did want to get Kairi Sane a little bit of action here, and we'll have a development with Asuka, her tag team partner, on the main show. So there's your pre-show. Kairi Sane gets the win. And we jump into the main show, and for the first time I think we've ever had this happen, Jinder Mahal is going to open up SmackDown, and it is because we see a video from earlier in the day where it is Jinder Mahal demanding a match with Seth Rollins after the disrespect that he showed him last week. If you remember, it was a situation where Seth comes in just on a complete tear, as we know, coming off of everything that's happened with Roman Reigns, and that's where Rollins was just coming through the back, and Mahal was just standing there, and Rollins just destroyed the poor guy on his way to the ring before he took out the Usos and basically called out Reigns. So Jinder trying to get his revenge here. We'll see if that happens, but Jinder demanding a match with Rollins, and Foley sets up the match. He says, "You want it, you got it." Foley says, "Hey, good luck, man. If you really think you want a match with Seth Rollins right now, I wouldn't suggest it, but it's on you." So the match is officially set, and it will be the match that opens up our show here. So this gets to 61. I mean, we didn't expect anything great, but having Jinder involved is just, Jinder's in the 40s or the 50s from overness, so it is what it is. But we are going to start with that match, and in case you had any guesses on how this match is going to go, it gets a 73, so a decent match, but it is Seth Rollins, pretty much destroying Jinder Mahal here. 8:05, the curb stomp. I would have done this at like 3 minutes, but we needed some time to fill on SmackDown, so we need more match time. But Rollins getting the win, and a pretty dominant effort here from Rollins, who, as we know, is far from concerned about Jinder Mahal right now. He has bigger issues to deal with. And so Rollins gets the win over Jinder, and the bigger story is what happens after the match, because that is where Seth Rollins grabs the microphone, and he says that Roman Reigns is officially on the clock, and that if Reigns does not show his face tonight before the end of SmackDown, it is going to be eye for an eye, just like Seth said last week. So Rollins is giving Reigns a little bit of a ticking clock here, where he's got less than 2 hours now to show his face, or it's going to be eye for an eye, and we still don't know what that means from Seth Rollins, but he said that last week, and so a very angry Rollins, still angry, as you would expect. We'll see what happens, but we have until the end of SmackDown to see what's going to unfold here with this. So it gets an 86, and that kind of sets up, our ticking clock here to see what's going to happen with Reigns and Rollins. All right, and then we go straight from that to Paul Heyman. Having watched this, Heyman is with Foley, and Heyman wants protection. Heyman says, "I don't even know why I'm here." Foley says, "Well, you're the representative of the Universal Champion, and I needed you here to discuss some business about what we're going to do about this whole situation." But Foley says, "I also wanted you here because I've got some questions to ask you about this situation with Roman Reigns attacking Becky Lynch at the Mae Young Classic." And so Heyman just completely goes into the spiel about, listen, Foley, just like the Usos, who Heyman says they're not even here tonight. I thought they would be here to help protect me. They're nowhere to be found. Foley reminds him that the Usos were attacked by Seth Rollins with a chair last week, so that's why they're not here. And Heyman just says he had absolutely nothing to do with what Roman Reigns did to Becky Lynch. He said it before. He had not talked to Roman Reigns. He had no idea where the tribal chief was at during his absence until he did what he did at the Mae Young Classic. And Foley says, I swear it. I had nothing, or excuse me, Heyman says, I swear it. I had nothing to do with it. That was all Roman Reigns. And so Heyman says, because of that, I want protection. You have to protect me from Seth Rollins because I know what he means by eye for an eye. He's going to come after me. And Foley says they'll talk business, and then Heyman can try to figure something out after that. But right now, they have business to discuss, and you can tell Heyman's just getting very nervous. He's looking around. He's wondering. Heyman makes sure the door's locked to Foley's office. All kinds of little things here from Heyman, who is terrified that perhaps he could be next for Seth Rollins. So 87, good segment here, and it is going to set up the continued theme here with everyone associated with Roman Reigns, being involved perhaps in the sights of Seth Rollins. And then we go to Pat McAfee, who's with Paige. And as we saw last week, Paige said that she would find a way to get to Mandy Rose. Little did she know Steve Austin would make it easier for her because Austin did officially make the trade that Mandy Rose was being sent to SmackDown for another competitor to that will be revealed later. So Paige, has kind of changed her tune here. She's very thrilled. You can see it in her face. And that she says, I told you I was going to find a way to get my payback on Mandy Rose, and I'm going to get that now since she's officially a part of SmackDown. And so Paige says, I will be welcoming her with not so open arms next week whenever her contract officially goes into effect on SmackDown. So Paige, very excited, and gets a 68 here for this one, and that is going to lead into a match for Paige. Her first one since the Mae Young Classic, since losing to Sonya Deville in that match that involved the Mandy Rose turn. And it's Paige getting the win over Billie Kay, 653. The Rampage here, 56 for this match. And we're kind of playing up the fact that it's Billie Kay and not Peyton Royce in this match. Because, why? Because Asuka took out Peyton Royce with the Asuka lock last week after the match for seemingly no reason. So Billie Kay kind of left alone here, and she's no match for Paige, who gets the win. And speaking of no match, unfortunately, Paige, Mandy Rose, not here yet, but the women's tag team champions are, because we know they can go anywhere they want. And after the match, Paige gets her win over Billie Kay, and that leads to the appearance of Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville, who come in and they haul off on Paige. They start attacking her after the match, and that just kind of plays up what we saw the anger come out from Sonya Deville on Raw about how, she was not happy about Mandy Rose being traded to SmackDown, and that's when Austin kind of put the idea in her mind that if they don't retain their tag team championships at Armageddon when they face Toni Storm and Liv Morgan, they will be stuck on Raw while Mandy Rose heads to SmackDown alone. So a little bit perhaps a preemptive measure here for Deville and Baszler to attack Paige, because if for some reason they were to lose at Armageddon, then it would be Paige getting whatever she wanted against Mandy Rose. And so the tag champs playing it up here that they're trying to just take out Paige in case of the possibility that they are not here on SmackDown next week to kind of maybe soften her up for their friend Mandy Rose. So 62 for this one. The tag champs stand tall over Paige here in this. And speaking of Asuka, we talked about her a second ago. We get a graphic kind of looking at the recent mean streak of Asuka. Maybe mean's not the word. Aggressive is a better one. Of course, everything that kind of played out in Survivor Series, we've seen her actions in recent weeks, not just in her matches, but after the match. And so we get sort of a graphic saying that Asuka will be in action next week. So what will we expect from Asuka? Not sure, given what we've seen recently from her. So it gets a 71, but Asuka will be in action next week on SmackDown. And in tag team action, it is the New Day getting the win over Elias and Otis, 12:02. Kofi Kingston pinning Elias in this one. Gets a 61. Not a bad match. Solid, I guess you could say. The usual chemistry bonuses here for both these teams, which obviously we've continued to play up. Otis off his game in this one. But, kind of a win needed for the New Day after their recent streak. Of course, Kofi was in the main event last week against Jey Uso, but as you remember, that match went nowhere because Seth Rollins came in and destroyed Jey Uso. So, but the New Day, after losing their tag team championships, they get back on track here with a win over one of our other tag teams, Elias and Otis, who have struggled to find wins at this point. But that may change soon enough. But for now, they've kind of been the team that has taken some losses. So somebody has to. But the New Day get the win. So this is just kind of pushing the New Day, trying to get back on track after losing their tag team championships and trying to stay in, that tag team title picture with our new champions, Jeff Hardy and Ricochet. Next defense going to be on the Raw brand. So 61 for this one. New Day gets a win. And then it is Pat McAfee with Samoa Joe. And McAfee says, look, Joe, we haven't seen you in a little while. After losing your shot at the Intercontinental Championship against Keith Lee. And McAfee just, wants to know, like, what's your mindset right now? And Joe just kind of goes into a speech here about how, he's really had to do a lot of thinking. He's heard all the critics. Everyone say that, maybe he's hit that point in his career where it's time to call it quits. And maybe, he just doesn't have that edge anymore. But Samoa Joe says that one thing he will never doubt is himself. And even though he's had all these questions running in his mind, these doubts, he's not actually doubting himself. He has kind of used it as fuel to go out and prove his doubters wrong. Everyone's saying he should retire, all this other stuff. He hears all the chatter online and in the back. He hears it all. And Joe just says that he's out now to prove his doubters wrong. And, we kind of see Samoa Joe turn his game face on here to where, this man is not happy. And so that's not good for his opponents probably. So Joe out to prove his doubters wrong. And he says he's going to start doing that now, and he will continue that all the way to the Royal Rumble. So, of course, we're building to the Rumble now on SmackDown, and Joe will officially be part of the Royal Rumble. But he's out to kind of prove everyone wrong here. Everyone who's kind of thinking that maybe it's time for him to hang it up. We'll see. 64 here for this one. And Joe gets a win in his match as he gets the victory over Dio Madden, 7:05. Coquina Clutch does it 67, so not a terrible match here. It's a pretty average show thus far with our matches, but sometimes this happens on these shows. We have bigger matches to build towards. So Joe gets the win over Madden here. It was interesting because I remember there was a situation where Joe had offered to put over Dio Madden. It's one of like the promises in the game, but I went back and looked at it and it wasn't there. Not that I was going to have Dio Madden beat him, but I just thought it was interesting. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that he did this. But that may have been whenever we had the issue with whatever it was, one of the shows that just didn't save, or we had the issues, whatever it was. Maybe that's what happened. So, but Samoa Joe gets the win over Dio Madden. And as we said, Joe has certainly got a lot to prove, he feels, to his doubters. So 67 for this one. And then it is Mick Foley, who is with our Intercontinental Champion, Keith Lee. And we see Keith Lee didn't do well without a script here. That's been hit or miss. Sometimes he has, sometimes he hasn't. 71 for this one. But it is Foley telling Keith Lee that, I appreciate everything, you're bringing here to the SmackDown brand. He's like, you've been a dominant Intercontinental Champion. You've taken on all comers to this point. And Foley just continues to reiterate the value of Keith Lee to SmackDown. And Foley tells Keith Lee that he is currently in the progress here. He's trying his best. He said it's not official yet, but he says, I am trying to book you a huge Intercontinental Championship match next week here on SmackDown. And Foley says, because you are someone who has taken on all comers, he says, I think I've made a new acquisition, and I think he's the right guy to challenge you for the championship because I know you want competition. And so Foley says he's working on it, and he's going to do his best, and they will reconvene, in the next couple days. Foley will let him know if he can officially get that match set. So they shake hands. Keith Lee walks out. He says he'll be ready, and that's that. So Foley working on a big Intercontinental Championship match, a new acquisition perhaps. We'll see what that means, but could be a big Intercontinental Championship match next week. 71 for this one. And then, as the Keith Lee walks out, in comes Sami Zayn and The Miz, our favorite pairing here. And it is Sami Zayn who is all smiles. He wasn't very happy last week, as we remember. They wanted a shot at the Tag Team Championships again. They wanted a rematch. They didn't get it, as Foley put him in a 6-man tag, and they lost to Keith Lee, Jeff Hardy, and Ricochet. But now, afterwards, Zayn had said that he and Miz were focusing on the wrong thing and that he had a plan. And so Zayn comes in here and he's all smiles. He tells Foley, you know what, Mick? I know we've had our issues, but he says, look, the real reason why I know we've had our issues because I'm just tired of the conspiracies. I've said it from the beginning. I think everyone's out to get me. But I think everyone also needs to know that I'm better than John Cena. And so he just throws this line in again out of nowhere for no reason, because it's Sami Zayn, right? We've had this kind of running throughout. And Zayn says, I've also kind of been, tired of the disrespect that I've been given around here. We should have had our championship matches last week. But Zayn once again puts a smile on, says, I'm not going to be upset about it because I'm very happy right now. And he says, Mick, you're going to be happy too. Because next week, whenever me and The Miz come back here, we're going to have a special gift for you. And he says, that's why I'm all smiles. And that, like I said, I've always been better than John Cena. I'm going to prove that I can do what John Cena can do. And you're going to see next week when I bring you the special gift exactly what I'm talking about. So Sami Zayn is just thrilled. The Miz is just kind of standing there as usual, not really sure what to make of Sami Zayn, but Miz sort of maybe buying into what Zayn is saying here. But apparently, Sami Zayn just kind of all over the place here in terms of his mood. But he says he is going to have a special gift for Mick Foley next week on SmackDown, and that he is once again going to prove that he's better than John Cena and he can do anything that John Cena can do. So, Sami Zayn, always up to something, but he's tired of the conspiracies, and he's got something in the works here. We'll see what it is. 80 for this segment. So, great stuff, as usual, from Sami and The Miz. And then it is Raquel Gonzalez getting the win over Mia Yim, 524. Sort of a squash match here, 51 overall. I know there's some Mia Yim fans out there. We just had such a, her overness was not great initially. I think, what was it, like a 30s or something? And we just haven't really put her in a position to have a lot of wins thus far. But that could change in the future. But, as of now, I know she's kind of in the spot where she has to lose some matches. So 524 the win for Raquel here. We did do, I'm pretty sure we got a bonus for the squash. Maybe not. So maybe should have made it a little shorter, but it's fine. But the bigger story is what's going to happen coming out of this, because Raquel gets the win, and we know she's been really dominant as of late. And then after the match, the music hits, and our SmackDown Women's Champion is back, because Bianca Belair has returned after, taking the vicious beating that she took from Raquel Gonzalez at the Mae Young Classic that eliminated Belair, as we know, because she was counted out in their match because she had just taken a beating at that point. Belair returns, and she, there's no playing around here. Bianca Belair goes right at Raquel Gonzalez, and they start brawling in the ring. Here come a host of officials coming out to try to break it up, because these two are just wailing on each other, and they are just going at it. Belair trying to get her revenge on Raquel here, 68 overall for this one. So these two are just going at it, right? They're just going, they're hauling off on each other in the ring. The officials are in between them. But then we see one of the officials hold his earpiece, and he is kind of motioning for another official who's near him. He's saying, come on, come on. And so they hop out of the ring, and they start to run to the back. So we've got less officials kind of holding back Belair and Gonzalez, who are still trying to go at each other in the ring. But we got these two officials who are now running away from the action. What are they doing? This is their job. But they're running away, and they run to the back, and that's when we see the camera all of a sudden change, and it pans backstage where we have a brawl going on backstage between Alexa Bliss and Dakota Kai as these two are going at it in the back. And so then we see the officials run in, who were out in the ring kind of holding off Raquel and Belair. Well, now they've made their way into trying to break up what's going on with Alexa Bliss and Dakota Kai because these two are going at it. Of course, Bliss makes her return here after Dakota Kai did sort of the same thing to her at the Mae Young Classic. So we've got these two brawling backstage. We've got chaos. The camera's cutting back and forth between Belair and Gonzalez, Bliss and Kai. We've just got fighting all over the place between these four. And so gets a 66 for this one. I thought it'd be kind of fun just to sort of transition immediately and then kind of jump back and forth between this because we know how much, similarities the tie-ins involved, with Dakota Kai kind of splitting from the Mean Girls. And then, so we've just got chaos here. Clearly, Alexa Bliss is taking aim at Dakota Kai. We know Bianca Belair taking aim at Raquel Gonzalez. So we have just got a lot going on with these four right now. So this one gets a 66. Pretty pleased with how these two turn out. But yeah, a lot of tension, a lot of chaos right now with Bliss and Kai and Belair and Gonzalez. And then backstage, it is Drew McIntyre thanking Damian Priest. Of course, Priest came in, made the save for McIntyre last week whenever Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black, kind of circled McIntyre after his win, and it was Priest coming in to make the save. So McIntyre just kind of thanking Priest here for, helping him out. A nice rating, 69. I thought this would have did better, honestly. I don't know why it didn't do as well. But I don't know what we rated it on. I can't remember. But they are, basically now combined together, and Priest has said, he's done everything here on SmackDown. He's had a hell of a year, but he's also, while doing that, kind of sat back and watched everything going on with Bray Wyatt. And now that Aleister Black is here, he wants a piece of the action. Basically, Priest wants to get involved here to kind of make sure McIntyre has a friend here to help him against these two because he knows. Sort of how powerful Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black are as a duo. So that's kind of your setup here, and we'll have a lot more in terms of the story for this moving forward. But just kind of your, I don't want to say basic, but this is just kind of your setup here as we are going to have these two aligned at least for one match. And my goodness, a 78, fantastic! Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, they're really carrying the action here, as it is Priest and McIntyre teaming up to get a win over Cruz and Corbin. 11-31, McIntyre pins Baron Corbin. So as you can see here, I mean, this is 78. This was way better than I would have expected. But I think, Corbin and Cruz are not bad, as we keep saying. When you look at their skills, they're not terrible. But the good news here is that Priest gets a 73 in the in-ring. And as we've seen before, we've talked about this, that has been the one area, even though Priest has had a fantastic year with all the things you think about that he's been involved in, all the big wins. His in-ring performance hasn't always matched kind of that, but it's starting to go up, and we've seen that in some of the recent matches. So that is really good to know, and they do get the win here, so it gets a 78, a great match. Kind of putting this in the main event slot because I knew this would do better because these two are involved. So they get the win, and then after the match is the bigger story here because Priest and McIntyre get the win. They're in the ring. Oh, wow, 86, good stuff. And what happens? You know what happens. The lights go off, and they come back on, and we don't see Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black. McIntyre and Priest are looking around, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. We don't see them, but we hear them. We hear the laughter, as we just heard with Bray Wyatt throughout this whole thing. That's kind of been one of the main themes. Bray is just laughing hysterically, and then we hear Aleister Black join in on the laughing, and McIntyre Priest continuing to look around. There's no sign of Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black, and then the laughing just stops. And the crowd's oohing and aahing, still trying to figure out where are these two guys, but they're nowhere to be found as McIntyre and Priest are standing in the ring, having heard these two just sort of laughing for no reason. So we'll see what that means. But an 86, I mean, great segment here, even with all these things we got knocked for. Black looking lost. His dialogue was a mess. I mean, all he did was laugh. So I can't imagine you could botch a good laughing segment. But I don't know. Maybe that happened here. Priest didn't do well with that script. So we probably rated these guys on entertainment. It's my guess. But we do gain heat on the segment or the storyline. 86 overall for this. So McIntyre and Priest standing in the ring, they are just completely, trying to figure out what's going on here. But for McIntyre, this is nothing new. He's used to Bray Wyatt playing these games. But as they're standing there, all of a sudden the attention for everyone turns to the stage. And that is because on the stage, we see Seth Rollins, who has Paul Heyman by the shirt, by the jacket here. And as McIntyre and Priest are standing in the ring and making their way out of it, here comes Seth Rollins, grabbing Paul Heyman by the jacket and walking him down to the ring as Heyman is just pleading. He is pleading for Seth Rollins to please stop. McIntyre and Priest sort of stop as they're going by. Priest with a big stare at Rollins because we know there's a history there. But then McIntyre and Priest just keep on walking. Heyman's trying to plead for McIntyre and Priest to save him. Please help me. And they're not doing it. They just continue to walk to the back, and that leaves Paul Heyman all alone with Seth Rollins. This gets a 90, and we get into the ring. Rollins grabs the microphone, and he says, "Time's up, Roman. I told you it was going to be eye for an eye." Rollins says, "I know that what you did had to come from this man right here. I know that Paul Heyman is the idea, the mind behind all of this, and he knows that without Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns is just sort of a sitting duck, and that Rollins would be able to do, he would be able to do exactly what he needed to do to take out Roman Reigns, because he knows that Heyman is the minds behind this whole plan, and that now he's going to take out Paul Heyman because he knows that the most valuable thing to Roman Reigns is not the Universal Championship. It's not the Usos. It's Paul Heyman." And so Rollins really pushing the fact that Heyman is the brains behind this operation, and he's going to basically destroy the brains behind the operation and see what's left for Roman Reigns. So Rollins just doing, he's really just leaning into this. He's doing the TikTok. He's doing all, he's just saying, time's up. This is it. Heyman is just pleading. He's, squealing here, basically. Heyman he wants out. He's trying to tell Rollins he had nothing to do with this. But just as Rollins goes to take out Heyman, and on the screen appears for the first time in a couple weeks, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. He is sitting at his table. He's sitting in his throne, and it is Seth Rollins who is looking up at the screen and sees Roman Reigns. Rollins still holding Paul Heyman. We'll get a 99 here, so we almost got the 100. And it is Reigns staring down Seth Rollins. An intense stare down between these two. But then things change as Roman Reigns goes from just staring down Seth Rollins to the biggest grin you will ever see. And boy, does that set off Rollins here, who is just seething at the fact that the first time he's seen this man who attacked his wife in a couple weeks, Reigns is just grinning as though he is just completely pleased with what he has done. And Rollins is losing it. He's yelling into the microphone, "Come on out here. Come on." What are you going to do? You're going to just continue to hide back there behind this table, wherever you are? Come on out, you coward. And Rollins just calling out Reigns. He says, "I'll do it. Don't think I won't do it." Because Rollins, again, pointing out, this is the person who runs everything for you. Right here, Paul Heyman. I know he had something to do with this. Heyman's still just pleading. He's pleading that he had nothing to do with it. Reigns is sitting back there, wherever, behind his chair, seemingly nowhere to be found. He's in the spot at his table with his chair. And then as Rollins goes after Heyman here, Reigns tells him, "Hold on a second, Seth." Because he says, "You can do whatever you want. But the question you have to ask yourself is one that you're always going to have to ask yourself going forward." And Reigns says, "Seth, where's your wife?" And that just sets off Rollins. Reigns disappears from the screen. The crowd, once again, oohing and eyeing here. And Rollins throws down Paul Heyman, and he takes off to the exits here. And Heyman is still just kind of in shock here in the middle of the ring. Rollins has hit the exits, and we go off the air kind of looking at Paul Heyman in the middle of the ring, seemingly escaping a vicious beatdown perhaps from Seth Rollins. And that is how we go off the air with Heyman in the middle of the ring. Rollins perhaps giving chase here, and Reigns once again playing a game here with Seth Rollins that is only going to intensify things moving forward. So a 99 for this segment, and we finish strong with Roman Reigns. He's gone fully mad here. There's no other way to put it. Reigns has gone mad. We get an 86, so a great show. We increase our popularity in 25 regions. A great finish with the stuff here with Rollins and Reigns. But yeah, Roman Reigns, what a boy. He's gone off the deep end here. But that's SmackDown, and a lot of good stuff on the show. As we are on the road to the Royal Rumble here. Let's see what we get to before we wrap up. All right, so SmackDown, awesome show, fantastic reviews. Let's see if there's anything we need to look at here. I don't think we're bringing in Kanemaru. Hiromu gets the IWGP. Paul White retiring. Oh, Paul White, the big show. There you go. So he is going to be switching from active competitor to member of the staff, so he'll be doing something backstage in AEW. The Godfather also hanging up the boots. So 2 Attitude Era legends here hanging up the boots. The Butcher returning to AEW. We talked about that. We didn't wind up bringing him in, but that's okay. Drug test fee, SmackDown gets a 5.76. So there you go. That was SmackDown. And be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yes, a very interesting episode of SmackDown. And boy, things are just getting started with Reigns and Rollins, folks. I'm just going to tell you. So things are going to get wild from here on. So not that it hasn't already, of course, what happened the last several weeks with this whole deal. So, all right, that was SmackDown, as I said. A lot coming up here, of course. We got the AEW save. We got the WCW 1998 save. Big, stuff happening on both of those. We're almost to a pay-per-view in the WCW 1998 one, so if you want to kind of jump into that, you can. AEW one, we got a lot going on. As there's always a lot happening in the AEW one. So be sure to check both of those out. And on the next episode of our WWE one, it will be our Armageddon preview because that is going to be the show after that. We are going to officially be at Armageddon, our Raw branded pay-per-view for December. And then guess what? It's going to be a new calendar year in our save. And we'll have some kind of fun end of the year stuff. We'll obviously look at all the awards and the Power 500. All that's going to be coming out. So we'll have some fun with that in our State of WWE for January. So a lot of great stuff on the way here in the save. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. And on the next episode, it will be our Armageddon preview.